right, breaking news, an earthquake in the world of social media that could be even bigger than we thought. Reports that TikTok is planning to shut down its...
Wait, what were you saying?
Buy TikTok.
You guys want me to buy TikTok?
Please.
Okay. I was just here to buy Feastival bars, and they told me to buy TikTok.
Please buy TikTok.
I know, just for you, I'll actually buy it.
Okay, so everyone's been hearing about this whole TikTok thing, right? Like it might get banned in the U.S., and now people are saying all sorts of things about who might buy it.
Yeah. It's really gotten crazy, hasn't it?
Like, is Elon Musk going to buy it, or what about that Mr. Beast guy?
Right.
Today, we're going to do a deep dive into all the rumors about who might end up buying TikTok.
We've got some reports from analysts. We'll look at some insider insights and even touch on the legal side of things a bit.
We're really going to try to figure out what's going on.
It's really interesting how all of this has gotten so mixed up with like technology and international politics. And then, of course, there's all that money involved.
Definitely.
It's a lot.
It is a lot. And I mean, the U.S. government is like this close to banning TikTok.
Right.
Because they're worried about national security. And we've got that Supreme Court decision that's coming up on January 19th.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be huge.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like the Chinese government would rather just keep TikTok under the control of its parent company, which is ByteDance.
Right.
But they're not totally opposed to selling it if it means that they can avoid being like completely banned from one of their biggest markets.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense that they would want to avoid that.
Yeah.
And that's where all this talk about who might buy it comes in.
Right.
You know, Elon Musk's name keeps coming up probably because he's pretty tight with President-elect Trump.
Yeah. And Musk isn't afraid to like make these huge moves in the tech world.
Right.
So maybe him buying TikTok would be like a solution that works for both the U.S. and China. You know.
It's definitely possible. I mean, who knows what's going to happen, but...
But we can't forget, this is a deal that could be worth like $40 or even $50 billion.
Oh, yeah.
At least that's what analysts at Wedbush are saying.
Yeah, that's a crazy amount of money, even for someone like Elon Musk.
Exactly. And it's very likely that even if there's a sale, ByteDance will try to hang on to their core algorithm.
Oh, for sure.
You know, that's kind of like their secret sauce that makes TikTok so successful.
Oh, yeah, that algorithm is like the heart of TikTok.
Mm.
It's what gives each user that personalized experience and keeps them coming back for more.
Totally makes sense that ByteDance wouldn't want to just give that away.
It's like, imagine if you knew the recipe for Coca-Cola,
Okay.
but you had to give up the formula for, like, the actual syrup itself. You still have this, like, powerful brand, right? But you wouldn't have the thing that actually makes it special and unique.
Right. So it's not just about, like, who owns it. It's about that intellectual property and the data and, like, what even happens to the whole platform in the future.
That's what makes this whole potential sale so tricky.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And then there's that other name that keeps popping up, Mr. Beast.
Oh, right.
He's one of the biggest YouTubers out there.
Yeah, he is.
And he's known for doing some pretty crazy stuff.
He's not afraid to be ambitious.
Right.
You could even say a little out there sometimes.
But could Mr. Beast even, like, afford this?
I mean, he's successful and all, but...
We're talking about billions and billions of dollars.
Yeah. Well, analysts at RBC have been saying that Musk might try to get outside investments or even partner up with someone like Mr. Beast to make the deal work.
Makes sense.
That they could combine their money and share what they know, and maybe that would make both the U.S. and China happy.
Right, right.
I mean, that's what they think anyway.
So we've got Musk, we've got Mr. Beast.
It's a lot of speculation.
Yeah, it's like watching one of those high-stakes poker games where everyone's trying to guess what the other players are thinking.
Exactly, and it's super important to remember that neither Musk nor Mr. Beast has actually said they're interested.
Right.
It's all just analysts making predictions and people wondering, what if?
Yeah.
It's all just what ifs right now.
Totally. But even if someone does buy TikTok, that doesn't mean it's all smooth sailing from there.
Oh, definitely.
There's still the whole issue of the ban and what that would mean for all the people who use TikTok in the U.S.
Yeah.
All the users and all the creators.
Exactly. Yeah, and there are millions of them.
I mean, can you imagine if you'd spent like years building your whole career on this one platform and then bam,
Right.
it's just gone?
It just disappears.
What would all those creators even do?
It makes you think about how much we depend on these platforms, doesn't it?
Yeah?
Like, it's not so easy for them to just pick up and move to Instagram or YouTube.
All right, they're totally different.
Each platform has its own vibe, its own algorithm, its own audience.
What works on TikTok might not work somewhere else.
Exactly.
And even if they can move over to a new platform, there's no guarantee that their followers will go with them.
Yeah, that's a big risk for creators who have spent years building up a following on TikTok.
It's like their whole livelihood.
And it raises some interesting questions about the whole social media landscape, you know?
Like what?
Well, if TikTok goes away, does that leave a hole that needs to be filled?
I never thought about it like that.
Does it stifle creativity, or does it actually create new opportunities for other platforms to come in and do things differently?
It's kind of like survival of the fittest, but for apps.
Exactly. This situation really shows us how connected all these social media platforms are. A change in one of them can impact all the others.
Wow.
Everything from the types of content to how people use them.
So even if you don't use TikTok yourself, this whole ban could still affect you online in ways you don't even realize.
Definitely. And that's why it's so important to understand what's really going on here.
Okay, I'm with you.
It's not just about TikTok. It's about the future of how we communicate online, the power dynamics between governments and these huge tech companies, and the impact all of this has on individuals and society as a whole.
It's heavy stuff.
It is.
So we've talked about who might buy TikTok and what would happen to creators, and then the big picture of how this affects social media in general.
Right.
But what about the legal side of things and the technical stuff?
Yeah.
Like, how would a ban even work?
Well, one of the sources we looked at, a professor from Northwestern University, had a really good way of explaining it.
Yeah.
He said to think of the data that flows between users and TikTok as like a pipe, and a ban would be like cutting that pipe off.
So all the data just stops flowing.
Exactly.
So no more scrolling through all those dance challenges and funny cat videos.
Well, not exactly.
Okay.
People who already have the app might still be able to use it for a while.
Right.
But without any updates, the app would probably start to have problems.
Oh, I see.
Features might stop working, bugs might pop up, and eventually it could just become completely unusable.
Ugh, that would be annoying.
It would.
But I mean, people are pretty good at finding ways around things, right?
Oh, for sure.
There's going to be some techie people out there who'd find a way to keep using TikTok even if it's banned.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, what would they do?
Well, some people might use VPNs to make it seem like they're in a different country.
Okay.
And others might try to download the app from websites that aren't official app stores.
That's called sideloading, right?
Yeah,
So problem solved then, right?
not so fast.
What do you mean?
Well, VPNs can be really slow, and they don't always work.
Yeah.
And downloading apps from places you don't know is risky.
Right.
You could get a virus, or your personal information could be stolen.
That's scary.
It is.
So it's like you have to choose between being able to use TikTok and keeping your phone safe.
Exactly. And don't forget, the government would be trying to stop people from using TikTok.
Yeah.
So those workarounds might not work for very long.
It'd be like a game of cat and mouse.
Exactly.
Speaking of the government, there's another person we should talk about, Senator Ed Markey.
Oh, right.
He's proposed a new law that could change everything about this whole TikTok situation.
It's definitely interesting.
What's he proposing?
Well, he's basically saying we should hit pause on the ban.
Oh, wow.
He thinks we need to really consider how a ban would affect users and creators and the whole social media scene
Yeah.
before we make such a big decision.
So he gets that there are concerns about privacy and national security, but he also sees how important TikTok is,
Exactly.
especially for young people who use it for everything like entertainment and news and even activism.
He gets it.
What a legend.
He's proposing that we give ByteDance more time to sell TikTok.
Well, that makes sense.
It would give them more time to negotiate and maybe find a solution that isn't so disruptive.
That sounds good. But realistically, do you think his proposal has a chance?
It's hard to say, honestly.
Yeah.
Things are so divided politically, and people have really strong opinions about TikTok.
Yeah, that's true.
But at least Senator Markey is bringing a different perspective to the conversation.
Yeah.
He's asking lawmakers to think about the long-term consequences
Like what?
for things like freedom of speech and innovation and the digital economy as a whole.
So it's not just about some abstract policy debate.
Right.
It's about real people's lives.
Exactly. And those lives are connected to the future of TikTok in ways we might not even fully understand yet.
It's crazy to think about.
It really is.
It's like this story where technology and politics and human connection are all coming together at this really important moment.
Yeah, it's a lot to unpack.
That's for sure, but that's what we're here for, right?
That's why we do what we do.
To help our listeners understand all of it.
To give them context and insights and a deeper understanding of what's shaping our world.
Okay, so before we move on to the last part of this deep dive, let's take a minute to review what we've covered so far.
Sounds good.
So the U.S. is really close to banning TikTok because of national security worries. And there are all these rumors that it might be sold to someone like Elon Musk or Mr. Beast.
Right. But there's nothing official yet.
Yeah, and of course, all the users and creators are freaking out about what a ban would mean for them.
And people are still arguing about the potential impact on culture and the economy. We've also talked about the legal and technical challenges of making a ban actually work.
Like how people might try to get around it.
Right, and how risky that could be.
And then we talked about Senator Markey's idea, which could lead to a better solution.
A solution that's less disruptive, at least.
But time is running out.
Yeah, the Supreme Court will make their decision in just a few days.
That's insane. And nobody knows what's going to happen to TikTok.
It's a story with lots of twists and turns, high stakes, and no easy answers.
For sure. So, as we finish up this part of our discussion, let's think about what a world without TikTok might look like.
Okay.
What does that mean for the future of social media? What lessons can we learn from all of this? And what questions should we be asking ourselves as this story continues to unfold?
Okay, so let's really think about this. What if TikTok just vanishes from the US?
Like, poof, it's gone.
Yeah, like it never existed. What would that world even look like?
It's pretty wild to think about, isn't it?
It is.
I think in the short term, there'd be a lot of chaos.
Yeah, probably.
Millions of users and creators would be lost. You know,
Right.
There'd be a lot of confusion.
Yeah, people would be scrambling to figure out what to do.
Definitely.
So wouldn't other platforms just try to like fill that gap?
Oh, they definitely would.
Instagram and YouTube are already doing those short videos, right?
Yeah, and if TikTok gets banned, those platforms would probably push even harder in that direction.
But the question is, can they really capture what made TikTok so special?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't just about the videos themselves.
Right.
It was like the whole culture, the algorithm,
Yeah,
the whole experience of using TikTok.
exactly. It's not something you can just copy overnight.
So are we going to see a bunch of different platforms all trying to get those TikTok users?
You could go that way.
Like each platform goes after a different piece of the TikTok audience.
Yeah, or maybe a whole new platform pops up.
Oh, interesting.
One that learns from what TikTok did well, but also fixes some of the problems.
Yeah, like maybe something that's even better about protecting user privacy and data security.
That would be pretty cool.
It would. So maybe this whole ban could actually lead to something good for social media.
I think it could.
Like force these platforms to come up with new ideas,
Yeah.
to actually listen to what users want and are worried about.
Right. And maybe we'd end up with more options for social media platforms, which would be a good thing.
Totally. Okay. So let's say there is a deal at the last minute.
Yeah.
And TikTok doesn't get banned. What should we be looking for?
Like, what are the important things to pay attention to if it gets sold?
Yeah.
Well, the biggest thing is who's buying it.
Of course.
Is it Musk or Mr. Beast or someone we haven't even thought of yet?
Right.
Their background, what they want to do with the platform, all of that will be super important for what happens to TikTok.
And what about like the details of the deal itself?
Yeah.
What happens to that algorithm, all the user data,
Yeah.
the rules for what content is allowed?
All of that could change a lot depending on who the new owner is.
Right. And we have to think about what this means for the relationship between the U.S. and China.
Oh, yeah, that's huge.
If TikTok is sold to an American company, the U.S. government might be happy, but China might not like it very much.
It's a tough situation.
It really is.
They have to find a balance that works for everyone, which is not easy.
No, it's not.
And the consequences could be felt all over the world.
This is crazy.
Yeah.
We started talking about funny dances, and now we're talking about international relations and the future of the internet.
It is kind of mind-blowing, isn't it?
It really is.
It just shows how connected technology, politics, and culture have become.
Mm-hmm.
What happens on a platform like TikTok doesn't just stay on TikTok.
You're right.
It affects the real world in ways we might not even fully understand yet.
So what's the big takeaway for everyone listening? What should they be thinking about as all of this unfolds?
I think the most important thing is to be aware. Be aware of how much power these platforms have, how much influence they have, and how they can be used for both good and bad.
Yeah.
And to think critically about the information you're seeing online, the choices you make online, and how those choices affect you and everyone else.
I like that.
And remember, this story isn't over yet. The future of TikTok is still up in the air.
Yeah. And whatever happens will have an impact on the internet for years to come.
For sure.
So stay informed, stay engaged, and keep asking questions. This has been another deep dive. Thanks for listening.
I just got out of a meeting with a bunch of billionaires. TikTok, we mean business. This is my lawyer right here. We have an offer ready for you. We want to buy the platform. America deserves TikTok. Give me a seat at the table. Let me save this platform.